Well, welcome back to all my YouTube vintage motocross fanatics, and thanks once more for giving up your valuable time as we take a look at another iconic off-road machine in my world of classic dirt bikes. Now, in this particular clip we're going to take a short glance at what was in fact Honda's first ever purpose-built two-stroke motocross machine, the legendary CR250M Elsinore. Now, the CR250M Elsinore originally went on sale in the USA in March of 1973, and when Honda released this remarkably trick production little motorcycle, the revered European motorcycle brands that had dominated the sport for many years were instantly put on alert when this little two-spoker Elsinore broke brand new ground. Now, of course, the bike was initially just named the CR250M, but it was then subtitled the Elsinore in North America after the famous off-road race that took place in Lake Elsinore in California, which of course was one of the biggest off-road races of the late 1960s and early 70s. Now, the engine of course was a 250cc air-cooled single-cylinder piston port two-stroke motor with magnesium crankcases. Now, of course, all of these bikes originally came with contact breaker ignition systems, although many riders opted to use electronic replacements to aid better starting and smoother running of the engine. Now, make no mistake, this little CR250 machine was a very serious motocross contender right out of the crate and required next to no modification before actually going racing. Now, the 250 Elsinore was an absolute rocket ship of a bike when you consider its limited size and stature. It could turn and burn with the best bikes on the track. Weighing just around a measly 108 pounds, it was a rider's delight to flick around and do any manner of tricks you asked of it. Now, this little bike was so successful when it was launched, there were actually rumours at the time that Honda had considered marketing this bike as simply the Elsinore and leaving their legendary manufacturer's Honda brand name off the bike altogether. Now, the CR250M came originally with these standard hydraulic telescopic forks, which gave you approximately 7 inches of travel at the front end. Now, this of course was not ideal, but were very adequate for the early 1970s when this bike was first introduced to racing. Now, from what I can recall from back in the day, these little Elsinores came with lightweight finned rear shocks that were more often than not replaced with much better replacement items like conies, etc. Although in this particular case you can see this rider has replaced them with a lovely set of these classic Falcon rear shocks. Now, the exhaust systems on these little machines were of course of the downswept, low slung single piece configuration, and as you can see in this particular case, the rider has opted to go for a very high quality D&G exhaust system, which of course comes straight from the USA. Now, when these bikes were first launched, there was only really one colour available at the time, and these lovely fuel tanks were originally polished aluminium, although some of these riders now paint these. And of course you had this lovely green Go Faster racing stripe on top, which made it a superb looking little fuel tank. Now, compared to many other motocross machines of its day. This little Elsinore had a lovely plush seat for the rider, and as you can see, this particular owner has recovered and refoamed his racing seat. Now, the side panels were moulded plastic and painted silver, as were the front and rear fenders, with this lovely little rubber flap on the front to deflect any dirt thrown up from the front wheel. Now, of course, back in the day there were some top riders who used to race these machines, and a couple that spring to mind were, of course, Gary Jones, who proceeded to win the AMA Motocross 250cc national title on this bike, and also Marty Tripes, who successfully defended his Super Bowl of motocross title aboard these little silver and green 250 Elsinores. Now, of course, this little CR250M Honda was, of course, Honda's very first ever competition dirt bike that Honda actually built from scratch, whereby in the past they would just take a current road-going street bike and then adapt it for motocross use. Without doubt, the Honda 250 Elsinore significantly influenced the evolution of motocross and helped to usher in the Japanese dominance of the sport over the ensuing years. Now, every motocross bike that Honda has produced since 1973 has its roots to some degree enhanced by the future developments from these little 250 Elsinore machines. So there we have it, a very, very brief look at the iconic Honda CR250M Elsinore. Now, with regards to a startup and hearing these bikes running, I don't actually have any footage of this particular bike's motor, but I can maybe go one better and let you see and hear these superb little machines in action on the track at the 2018 Kendall Classic Revival Scramble. So I hope you've enjoyed this brief video on the iconic CR250M Elsinore. So I'm going to leave you just to listen and watch the sounds of these iconic little machines in action on the track. This video was brought to you in association with Wolfsport Motocross Race and Leisure Wear, and also in association with VMX Magazine, the world's undisputed #1 publication for all your vintage and classic dirt bike motorcycles.